Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
There are three primary stories that we'll get to in this hour. One will be the Penn State football schedule being released by the Big Ten yesterday, so now we know the order of games. Two, let's face it, I think the proper word is snub of Bill Belichick in the first ballot to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And number three is the jarring Rutgers financial story, which is just those who have followed me for years, and you've been along with this ride as well. I guess you've been here. Have you been there the whole time?
Pretty much, yep.
Yeah, I mean, so you've been. So I mean, sometimes like Jason will be fill-ins and things like that. But Jason's been since we kicked this show back into gear again in 2012. I would say that I have talked about the Rutgers situation repeatedly since maybe 2015, 2016, because I got in the conference in 14, and that's when the financial stuff started coming out. So we've talked about the Rutgers financial situation, which is bad, for 10 years. For 10 years we've talked about it. We'll get to the latest one, but that will be the last part that we'll get to. So let's get to the schedule that was finally put out by the Big Ten yesterday. And you know what? I have zero problems with this. No, there isn't a single thing in here that I sit back and go, I don't know. No, I'm fine.
I thought it was spaced out really well.
I think this works in many ways for Penn State. Hey, we know the non-con, they open with Marshall here. That would be Matt Campbell's first game as the head coach of the Nittany Lions. Then they go to the Link, play Temple. And then they come back and they play Buffalo. Okay. So now you're going to open up against Wisconsin. It's going to be at home. We talked for years about Penn State not opening at home in the Big Ten, and it went 10 years or something like that. Yep. Well, now it's 3 years in a row they've opened at home?
Yeah.
Right. And this is something I knew it was going to happen in part because I remember talking to Tony Petitti, and it was just in casual conversation it came up. He goes, no, Steve, that's changing. I said, okay. Right. Well, he's been true to his word. It has. So you open with Wisconsin in the Big Ten, home. And essentially what this schedule does is it goes every other week, home away, home away, but because there's a 5-4 split in favor of home this year, it's Penn State's 5-4 split at home. It's an even year. In November, you'll get back-to-back home games because you have to get to 5. But other than that, the schedule goes home away, home away, home away. And I would prefer that as opposed to, I don't feel like you should be playing 5 games in a row at home.
No.
Right?
No, and with the off week, technically they did it last year.
Right. That was my point, because I think they're and it's not anything other than I feel like it eventually wears the fan down.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
There's no question.
That's 5 in a row. It's 5 straight weekends. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's why this schedule goes back and forth. Wisconsin, they played better under Luke Fickell at the end of the year after they gave him the vote of confidence. They're not quite sure, because I talked to Matt LePay about this, the play-by-play voice of Wisconsin, when they were here for basketball. They're not quite sure what to do about the quarterback situation. Northwestern, this will be, at minimum, the first Big Ten game at the new Ryan Field. What they're going to do in the non-con, I don't know. They may, in the non-con, just open it then if it's ready. I will finally see it tomorrow because the football stadium is right next to the basketball arena, so I'll see what it looks like. I mean, I've seen it in every stage of it so far. I've seen it old standing. I've seen it being knocked down. I've seen them starting to rebuild it because I was last at Northwestern in May, because that's Dave Ennett, who's just one of the greatest guys ever. He's the play-by-play guy for Northwestern. He hosted the golf tournament last year along with Ted Albrecht. Okay, and we did go over to Ted's place, his man cave, and Paul Keels, who does Ohio State, he and I were talking about this Monday night. It was like being in a museum.
That's awesome.
And we're just like, all of us are just hanging out there like, and having one really, we just have a great time. Right? But I don't know what they want to do with Ryan Field, whether this is the first game ever there in the new one or not. I'm anxious to see just what it looks like and how different it looks from what I saw in May. But Penn State will go there. Then they've got the USC game. Jordan Mayava, but they don't have Lane. Jacoby Lane's gone. Makai Lemon will be gone.
Yep.
So they've got, they'll have some change over there. But they still have Mayava. And I think it's safe to say Danton Lynn has a pretty good idea of what he can and can't do. And I know a lot of people are like, that's going to be, look, just let it play out. Okay, as to what the whiteout game is and so forth, just let it play out. Some people have complained that it's USC followed by Michigan. I don't care. You know what?
The way the schedule plays out sometimes.
It's the way the schedule plays out. It doesn't matter to me.
How many times have a big Penn State gone Ohio State, Michigan back to back?
That's fine. I have no problem with that. And to be honest with you, I mean, there were a couple times where Ohio State had Penn State, Michigan back to back.
Yeah. Last year? Today? Try to think. No, not last year.
No, not last year. No, 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. I mean,
yeah, had the game here and then went
the way, and I think there was one year, wasn't it? Michigan had Penn State and Ohio State back to back. Like, it's okay.
Michigan here or Penn State here and then Ohio State at home.
It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah. And I think you'd rather play a team in October than you would in November.
Yeah. I mean, Bryce Underwood back at quarterback. They need to upgrade their receivers. Let's see what Kyle Whittingham
I was going to say, coaching, I think, is going to be a little bit of a wild card. I think there's a lot of hype around Whittingham, but who knows what he's going to do in the Big Ten.
And by the way, Chip Kelly's now the offensive coordinator at Northwestern. No offense, that doesn't put the fear of anything in me.
No, he's a great play caller, but I don't really – you got to have players that make plays. I don't exactly know if I think they're a wild card. But I also think Chip's ego gets in the way of a head coach. I thought we saw that in the NFL for sure.
Yeah.
I saw that at Ohio State.
So
who knows?
I know some people were like, USC, then Michigan back-to-back. Like, hey, guys, it doesn't matter. Just go play. Yeah. I have no issues with that. None.
Yeah, bye week after it anyway. So.
And I've really changed over the years about the bye week. I always liked the bye week and then a big game. No, you know what? I'd rather have the bye week after the big game.
Or middle of the season, where you can get time to rest.
The placement of the bye week is perfect here.
Absolutely.
I mean, you play 6 games, and you have a bye week.
Literally, middle of the season, time to rest your guys. Time to heal up injuries.
You play 7 games and then have a bye week.
Yeah, which is pretty much.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's a great spot to have it. I mean, so that worked out perfectly. I like the fact that it's actually after Michigan, and I like the fact that it's 7 weeks in. So, I mean, that's timed out perfectly. And then you get a home game with Purdue. Okay. Then you make the trip to Seattle, right? Take on Washington. That's how you start November. You'll have a really tough game with Minnesota.
I agree.
Yeah, and I want to say something quickly about P.J. Fleck. Well, let me finish out. Then we'll go Rutgers here at home. That'll be senior day. And then you close out with Malik Washington in Maryland down at SECU Field in College Park on Thanksgiving weekend. They're all Saturdays. There's no Fridays here. Right? They're all Saturdays. And I want to say something about P.J. Fleck for a moment. When P.J. Fleck got in to the Big Ten, he'd left Western Michigan, he'd taken them to the Cotton Bowl, and he comes in with, all this row the boat and all that stuff, and he's enthusiastic and the whole thing. Then when you sit back and you read about the origins of Row the Boat and about his son, right, you realize that there's a story behind it, right? Todd Monken, by the way, was hired as the head coach of the Browns. But then, okay, so then when you understand the backstory behind it, he has been the perfect guy for Minnesota, in my opinion, because I think, A, he's a really good coach. I think he does a great job of motivating. There's a reason why they've won all these bowl games in a row. And Minnesota obviously would love to get into the college football playoff. Every team would. But they're really good year in and year out.
Consistent.
Right? They're not, okay, are they great?
No.
But they're really good
never,
year in and year out.
Down here.
And that is a tribute to him and his staff and the job that they've done. And over time, I just want to just point out, I'm not usually big on slogans and things like that, but I want to give credit where credit's due. I have a lot of respect for him as a coach. And I just want to at least point that. I mean, I've never been critical of him on the air. Never once.
PJ's always been
right, but I never once have been.
Yeah.
But I want to at least recognize that, you go in like, you know what, that dude can coach.
Even prior to his coaching, his work ethic in the NFL, fought to make rosters how many times? This is
right.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And I think he brings that kind of attitude to the job, and he's done a heck of a job. I'm watching their bowl game. I think I was on the road somewhere. Oh, I know where it was. We actually were in New York watching the bowl game because they played in the 26th. Jack and I are watching the game, and he says, "Game's in Phoenix, right? It's snowing outside."
Oh yeah, Bowlers, I mean, it's just snow.
It's snowing
and freezing.
It's snowing. It's slush and the whole thing. And like we're watching. He said, "That game's in Phoenix, right?" I said, "Yeah." And they came back and they won late. And like, does he ever get like the absolute greatest quarterback? No. But he's got good college quarterbacks. Like you saw, I mean, Max Brosmer did a great job for him. I thought Lindsey was very good for them this year.
Oregon wasn't bad years ago.
Right?
A couple years
and I know,
back.
and I always love this. I mean, there's so many fantasies in football, in sports. I always love the fantasies in sports where like people who just come up, it's a trap game. Like, there's no such thing as a trap game. I mean, I don't understand. Like, I hear so many myths in sports, and you just sit back and go, you got to be kidding me. It's a trap game. Maybe it's a trap game for you, but it's not for the players. What do you think? They're just like lollygag in practice all week and go, hey, it's a trap game. It's like...
Yeah. That's a slogan that you use, for
it's a
midget
crutch.
football.
It's a crutch.
Well, midget football might not be because they don't understand at that point yet. But no, once you reach the high school level of football and you get above, week in and week out, you're going to be tested. It doesn't matter who it is. 2
years ago when Penn State went in there, Jack Ham and I, we're taking a look at we're like midseason. You talk about midseason, you get a real read on teams. And the two of us are like, God, that game at Minnesota is going to be a real.
Yeah, and it was.
Right? I mean, we identified it a month out like that's going to be a real problem game. The way, their style of play, how physical they are up front, had nothing to do with traps or anything like that. It had to do with the fact that, hey, you got to go on the road. You're playing a team that executes really well. You're going to have to execute well, and Penn State was able to survive and win the game. And they won at 25-24.
Yeah, by a point. The fake punt. Yeah.
And the fake punt by Luke Reynolds went 32 yards on that, and then of course they closed out with the Drew Aller to Tyler Warren pass. Yeah. And there's no Coy Parrish there any longer. He transferred to Oregon. Oregon kind of takes everybody's safeties. It took Dylan Thieneman from Purdue one year, and he was great. And they got Coy Parrish now. It's like, great. So that's the schedule. And I think the schedule's fine.
Yeah, I like it.
Now, people will ask, how many games you think they can win? All right, so this is where everybody, when in terms of asking me, just number one, I don't do how many wins.
No, and coaches aren't going to either.
Right. I've always told the story about speaking in Camp Hill. There's like 300 people there, the whole deal. And I'm driving down, and Jack Ham calls me. And I just come from practice, and Jack had been at practice a couple times. This is 2005. Now remember, Penn State had gone 3-9 and 4-7 in the previous 2 seasons, right? And I'm watching practice, and I'm thinking, God, they just look so much better. And Jack calls me up. He says, Steve, I don't know about you. I said, I think they look so much better. He says, what do you think? How many games do you think we can win? And the two of us agreed that they could go 11-1. Okay? All right? We agreed.
Uh-huh.
I pull into the parking lot. I said, Jack, I got to go in. I got to make this speech. All right? He says, hey, no problem. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I said, great. So I go in, and I get asked the question. Now, this is after Jack and I had just talked for about 45 minutes on the phone, and we both kind of thought, hey, they can win 11 games this year. So I tell everybody, to be honest with you, so I said, Jack and I think they can win 11 games. Oh. Now, remember, they'd won a total of, what, 7 the previous 2 years.
3-8,
right? They look at me like I'm some sort of nut.
Yeah.
And that year they ended up going 11-1. But that's the last time I did it. I won't do it anymore.
No, it's never really.
And anytime you do that, what's the next question you get?
Who are they going to lose to?
Yep, who's the one? Steve Jones says they're going to lose to. But no. Yep. So I don't do that. Now, that's one reason. But now here's the primary reason. With the change in coaching, and with how active they had to be in the transfer portal, I would like to see what the team looks like first.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I want to take a look at practices and sit back and go, okay, that safety they brought in from Iowa State. I'll take Neal as an example. Okay, let's take Neal. Well, except for watching him on TV a couple of times. And I'm just, I wasn't sitting there at Iowa State scouting the game. I just was watching the game. I'd like to see him in practice on a day in and day out basis. Hey, how does he play it? How's is he good against the run? How does Danton want to use him? How does Dion, he's coaching the safeties. I mean, there's certain guys I know already. I know how a Davian Collins plays. I know how Darius Dixon plays, right? I know how Josh Johnson plays. The guys that are coming back, I know how Tony Rojas plays, right? But I don't know how Benson plays.
Right.
I probably watched enough of Rocco Becht in games to get an idea, and I really like him. This is not like one of those hey, Rocco Becht's one of those guys when you watched him on TV, you're like, well, I'll tell you, you'd love to have a guy like that on your team. Well, now he is on Penn State's team. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have a great depth of knowledge of the wide receivers they brought in. I know everything about Rappleyea, right? But the other guys, Bramer, when I watched him on tape, man, he looks really good. Right? But I want to see on a day in and day out basis how all these guys fit together, and the same thing with the offensive line. I know what Donko can do. I know how much Donko's improved. All right, that's one. Cooper Cousins. I know how much progress he's now made because I've seen these guys on an everyday basis for years now. But the other guys I haven't seen for a second. Right? So that's why I want to sit back okay, with all the changes, I want to see how all the parts fit. That's all. Before you start thinking about how many they can win, lose, or draw. Well, they can't draw, but still. Oh, by the way, I'll give you one other financial change so people understand. It used to be under the old system of the college football playoff, which this was the last year of the first deal, that by winning rounds, you get more money. No more. It is now going to be a flat fee. Big Ten schools will get approximately $21 million per school under the new agreement that starts this upcoming season. The SEC's right around the same. It might be slightly more only because they have 2 fewer schools. All right. The Big 12 is going to get, let's say, I think the ACC is getting $13 million, the Big 12 is getting $12 million, and Notre Dame is getting $13 million. All right? So everybody's getting flat fees out of this. It will not matter about you advancing in it any longer. Hey, you won this round, your conference is going to get that. Because Penn State, Ohio State, last year both advanced deep into it. This year, Indiana advanced deep and won the whole thing. Right? Oregon won a round. Well, now winning rounds is not going to matter. It's going to be a flat fee for the college football playoff moving forward. So they're not going to use the NCAA basketball tournament system of units. All right. Bill Belichick, exponentially superior coach to Bill Walsh.
You bet, even though he learned from him with his book.
I'm only kidding because you're sitting there. He's better than George Seifert. No,
I'll go that far. Yeah, Seifert built Walsh's teams and didn't have a salary cap to build even more on the team.
No. You sense, and it's not like anybody's written about it. I mean, you're trying to guess here. Because nobody has come out and written a story saying, I did not vote for him, and here's the reason why. A, they're not allowed to.
Right.
After the fact, they can. Once the vote is actually revealed, they can. But the guys that did not vote for him cannot write a story about it until the Saturday before the Super Bowl, because that's when it's actually officially released as to who got in. That's part of the agreement. And I know because I vote for things. I vote for all Big Ten football, all Big Ten basketball. I vote for the Wooden Award, things like that. We're not allowed to reveal what our ballot is, ahead of time. And he needed 40 out of 50 to get in or something like that. And he didn't get it. And they claim it has to do with Spygate. Somebody mentioned Deflategate. Well, okay, Deflategate I'm sick of.
Right.
I'm sick of that. Number one, he had zero to do with it. Nothing. Not
zero to do with it, and they won the game 45-14.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero. And then they won the Super Bowl that year, and they changed out the football on every single play because they're souvenirs. Yeah. They changed the football out in the Super Bowl every play because that way they give it to a sponsor. Hey, look, this is one of the game balls. This is one. That's why the ball's changed on every play in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So he has nothing to do with that.
No.
Spygate, which was what I think was the Rams. Was it the St. Louis Rams? I think that was it.
I think it was the Rams or the Broncos. One of those two, yeah.
I think it was the Rams. It was the Super Bowl. It's down in the Superdome.
Oh, yeah. It was the Super Bowl. So it was the Rams. Yeah.
And the Rams, greatest show on turf. Ringing up big points left and right. But if I recall correctly, tell me if I'm wrong, didn't they win the NFC Championship game and it was a low-scoring game and they had to win it late?
That was the year before that they beat the Buccaneers. That year, I think they beat the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. Beat them 29-24, I want to say.
Right, okay. So it was a decent scoring game. The year before...
It was 11-6.
In other words, you can hold the Rams
down. And Ricky
down.
Prohl still caught that ball. They called incomplete, too. So you can hold them down.
Right. I'm saying, but my point is, it's not as if the greatest show on turf was ever slowed down by somebody. My point is, they were.
Yeah.
Right? And they're claiming that some people, they're guessing that that's being held against him. For God's sakes, he won 6 Super Bowls, and he did it 3 in 4 years at one point. Then they went 10 years where they're like close. But people forget there's a 10-year gap between the Super Bowl appearances, right, where they're relevant, but not quite over the top. And then they won, 3 out of 4 again. They got to Super Bowls and they lost to the Giants twice.
Yeah. One year they went undefeated to get to the Giants after Deflategate might have had the year after.
Yeah.
Or Spygate.
I mean,
whatever it was.
I'm sorry. This is wrong.
Very.
I realize he was never the easiest person on the planet to deal with.
And I think that has to do with it, too. I think there are a lot of people in journalism that vote based on feelings, and you can't do that.
Please, and Steeler fans, please don't take what I'm about to say wrong. Bill Cowher won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he got in.
Yeah.
He won, okay? Winning one is incredibly difficult.
Sure.
Ask Bill Cowher what it takes to win 6.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to hear, well, Cowher coached in one place for this long, so did Belichick.
Right, so did Belichick. But think about this. Bill Walsh is an awesome coach.
Yeah.
He won 3. And he's a great coach. Mm-hmm. He had Joe Montana. He had Steve Young. But you have to be able to coach them, and he did.
That's
right. And he was also the general manager, acquiring talent and so forth, which is essentially what Belichick was doing. And Belichick was always changing the roster over all the time. And this one is just, you sit back and, like, I'm going to penalize him and not make him a first ballot?
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous in every sense of the word.
Tony Dungy's in.
Yeah.
But Tony Dungy coached in 2 Super Bowls and won 1. That's an incredible accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Dungy should be in.
Yeah.
But he didn't win 6. Oh, and by the way, last I checked, he was the coordinator on 2 others. He's got 8.
Mm-hmm. Coordinator on a team that was almost unbeatable in '86.
Yeah.
Coordinator on a team that beat the 49ers in 1990 they were unbelievably good.
Matt Barr won the game out there with 5 field goals.
Yep.
Penn State's Matt Barr.
Fell down 12-3 to the Bills, beat them.
Yeah. I mean, see, I don't really. Belichick's interesting in that if you ask him questions or critical questions, he just blows it off. But if you ask him something
about the history of the game,
historic, he will wax poetic and give you paragraphs and pages of, because he loves it, he's into it, and that's where his personality comes out. That's where his personality comes out. That you're like, oh, there actually is a real, like, personality, a real interest and so forth as to it. And I thought on the NFL's 100 Greatest, where they put him on the set, he was terrific on that because it was about history.
Yeah.
How you act with the media should not come into play when it comes to, like I heard for years, like, well, Jim Rice was always sour with the media, and that's why it took him so long to get in. It's like, oh, for God's sakes. You know what? When he's got a bat, okay, did he move the wall back 5 feet in his career because he kept hitting it so hard? Yeah, probably.
Yep.
I mean, this one just is just wrong on a lot of levels, and I don't get it. And again, I'm not putting down Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher should be in the Hall of Fame.
No, these guys should be in.
But I'm giving context here. He won a Super Bowl. Incredibly difficult to do. Well, you think it's incredibly difficult to win 1. How difficult is it to win 6?
Yeah. Difficult is it to win 6 and be to, 9? Was he 6-3? Was he 6-3 with the Patriots? Lost 2 to the Giants to 6-2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Eagles.
And the Eagles. So 6-3. Yes, that's what I thought. Yeah, 6-3. Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's
6-3, and then if you add in what he did as a coordinator, well, he was 8-3 because the Giants did not lose Super Bowls. They won the 2 that they were in when he was the coordinator.
Yeah,
they beat the Bills, and then they were able to beat the Broncos.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is. I think it's a couple things. I think, as you said, it's the people factoring in Spygate, Deflategate. But I think the one thing you're taught in Journalism 101 when you first break into the business is to not cover things based on your personal feelings. And I think that is exactly what some of these writers did. I think there's a lot of feeling toward Bill Belichick in a lot of ways, and I think they put that in their vote, which is something you absolutely cannot do. And the thing that drives me nuts more than anything is the hypocrisy that you get from these voters, and that's in baseball and in football. They sit there and tell me it's a numbers game. Okay, well, Bill Belichick's won 6 Super Bowls as a head coach, 2 as an assistant. That's a number that puts you in the Hall of Fame. And then they sit there and say, well, is there an era where you say this guy was the best at what he did? Yeah, very much so. Absolutely. Well, can you write the history of the game without having him in it? No, you can't. There's 3 right there where you say it time and time again to what your criteria is for the Hall of Fame, and he meets every one of those. There's no excuse whatsoever to not have this guy in the Hall of Fame in the first pass.
At minimum, we fell 11 votes.
Yeah.
At minimum, because there are at least 11 people that did not vote for him.
Yeah, and
we don't know how many, but at least 11 didn't.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
It makes no sense, and I think it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's very.
I think it's embarrassing for the Hall.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's embarrassing for the voting
writers,
panel.
Absolutely.
And because there's certain things that are obvious.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's
certain things that are obvious. In other words, when Tom Brady is eligible to be, right? I'm saying, because it's obvious. When Peyton Manning, it's his time. It's obvious, right? Well, this was Bill Belichick. It was his time. It was obvious. And now you've got the stories about how Belichick didn't put in, but evidently Robert Kraft is still right there. He was able to get through some other level to get this, and they really butted heads. Come on. Okay, stop with the personality stuff.
And that's the problem.
The personality
that's the complete problem of it all.
The personality stuff is incredible. And that's why we're watching the Denver, and I've never met Mr. Kraft. I've heard nothing but good things about him because, I knew Gil Santos. Right? I mean, Gil was my mentor. Yep. Well, Gil loved Robert Kraft.
Yeah.
Right? Well, that was enough for me. I mean, I know enough people who know people. Right? I mean, Bill O'Brien couldn't say enough about Mr. Kraft.
Yeah.
So if he gets in the Hall of Fame, he deserves it. Right? Absolutely. But why do you think, for example, on Sunday, right, where they show and there he is, Robert and Jonathan Kraft at the Broncos game, right? And of course, why do you see Jerry Jones, right, all the time? Guess what? They're both on the TV committee. Did you show the Broncos ownership? No. Did they show Stan Kroenke in the Rams game? No. Did they show the Seattle ownership? No. Now, you saw, was it Joan Allen? Paul Allen's widow? I saw her, they showed her, doing the 12. I mean, she's the owner, and doing the 12, regardless of who would throw the flag up. They could have picked Marshawn Lynch. They would have shown it.
Right. The week before. Yeah.
Right. They would have shown it. It's just part of, it's part of the broadcast. But, but they do show Mr. Kraft all the time.
Sure.
Right? And that's one of the reasons he's on the TV committee.
Yeah.
He's a great guy from all accounts. Right? And he's done he saved that franchise. They're going to St. Louis if he doesn't. People don't realize they're going to St. Louis unless he steps in.
Yeah,
he saved that team.
Sure did.
But the Belichick thing, boy, it's just
it's frustrating. I think
there's so many decisions that are made like this where I sit back and go, the personalities of it and the narratives. And you know how I feel about narratives. Most narratives are junk.
Stupid. Yeah.
No, they're junk.
They're junk. Yep.
Right? I lived one here.
Sure.
We lived one here.
Sure
the narrative about Joe is junk. I've gone over it 1,000 times. Okay?
Sure.
And so that's why people say, boy, you never hesitate to talk about Joe. No, of course I don't.
Why would you not?
No, but I'm saying, okay? No, there are a lot of people that won't.
I know.
Oh, I will. I will because it's
fortunately most in this area are the opposite. Thank goodness. But
all right.
Yeah.
Now we want to get to Rutgers. We've got 15 minutes here, and this may take 15 days. NJ.com writer Keith Sargent, and let's give credit where credit's due, released an article detailing the Rutgers financial situation. The most recent fiscal report came out. Rutgers Athletics, they get college football playoff money. They do get some of the TV deal. Right? They, especially Penn State shows up or Ohio State, they sell it out. Remember, every other year when they were doing divisions, they at minimum would have one of the three, Penn State, Michigan, or Ohio State, there. They lost $78 million last year. NJ.com made the request. The Rutgers athletic deficit topped $70 million for the third time in the last 5 years. The university spent $193.8 million in 24-25. Again, the fiscal year ended June 30th, 25. Okay. That is a record amount of spending for the university. Certain numbers offset that cost, as Rutgers had an operating revenue, good news, of $146.6. That includes $7 million subsidized from the school's annual budget, $8 million from the state budget, and $15.8 million in student fees. With those removed, it shows Rutgers spent $78 million more than it earned. Since joining the Big Ten, Rutgers has a deficit of $516.9 million. Since joining the Big Ten, they have run up a deficit of $516.9 million. Rutgers' spending has increased by 175% in its first 11 years in the Big Ten. Okay. The Rutgers football team in particular spent around $12 million more this fiscal year than it did the previous fiscal year. Of the $76 million that Rutgers spent on football, $17 million went to coaches' salaries, $11.1 million went to support staff, $4.5 million went to student-athlete meals, and $2 million went to the recruiting budget. Coaches' contracts have been a hot topic in the Rutgers community over the past year, especially after they have not done well in basketball and football the last 2 seasons. Rutgers athletic director Kelly Zinn acknowledges the fact that something has to be done about the deficit, but is also aware of the department she inherited and what needs to happen before the department can chip away at the deficit. Regardless of how we slice this thing, it's got to get better. Obviously, our expenses have exceeded and outpaced our revenue, and in some cases, year over year to a pretty significant degree. That's a piece that we will spend quite a bit of time on, understanding that the current fiscal year that we sit in, there was a $20.5 million expense with the revenue share and additional scholarship support. Remember, June 30th, 2025 is when this report came out. When did rev share start? July 1. It's not in this report. It's not there. I think you'll see a year from now that it's going to be our worst year looking at the profit and loss scenario. And she's right, because the $20.5 million is in there. It has to be. But you'll see some level of improvement that's expected in 26, 27, and 27, 28 based on the current projections we have in the growth opportunities with revenue. Now, one of them is I just outlined for you. Rutgers, instead of maybe getting, I think Rutgers gets about $6 or $7 million from the college football playoff, something like that. Starting next year, it goes to 21. Okay? And that's it. And again, every school in the Big Ten gets that number. It goes up. Now, the new TV deal at the end, and I'm going to get the TV here in a second. So, all right. Okay, it is going to have some different numbers in it. She says she's hoping in 2 years that the deficit will start to decline. Steve Politi, a Rutgers insider for NJ.com, who did not write the article, encouraged the Rutgers faithful on his X account to read the original piece closely and realize that Zinn is open and honest about the deficit she inherited and the fact that she has concrete ideas for making the numbers work in the future. I do give her credit. She did not run away from it. She said, yep, it's there. I mean, look, the two most important pieces of paper on these reports for any business, and you're running a multi-million-dollar business here, are the first page I want to see is what were my expenses, and the other page I want to see what my revenues were. Yeah. I actually brought that up to a group one time, and somebody said, oh, no. Yeah, that's why you got all these pages. I looked at it and go, hey, sport. Okay? My dad had a business. Okay? Yeah, he owned his own business. Yeah, okay, the first two pages you want to see are okay.
Yeah, you want to see if you're in the green or red.
Okay, the rest of it is how did I get there?
How did you get there? Yeah, okay? But you still want to know the main two before you know anything else.
Don't sit there like,
oh boy,
when you make a blanket statement like that.
That's bad.
That it's the two. I've actually had people say,
opinion.
Right?
That's bad.
Oh no, and you want to know why? You want to know why? In all seriousness, right? Guess which sport they love. The two guys that brought this up to me. Guess which sport they love?
Probably not football.
No. Guess which sport? That they're like, oh no, it's not the revenue versus
wrestling?
All these. You bet. Right? Yeah. Right. I'm sorry. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Absolutely.
It is what it is, okay?
Absolutely.
It is not putting the sport down. You're just giving out the facts. And those are the two most important pieces of paper you get when you're running a business, and this is a business. The first two I want to look at is, what are my expenses, what's my revenue? Then I'll look at the rest as, okay, how did we get here and why? That's what the rest of it is about, okay?
And that's any business.
Right. That's any business. That's
whatsoever.
Any business.
I'm running a candy business. I want to know what my revenue is versus my expenses, and what I spend, how'd I get there. There's no doubt that's absolutely the case.
The Rutgers University budget is $5.28 billion. Rutgers Athletics spent $193.8, equivalent to 3.7% of the university's budget. Okay. The best cure for the financial ills, obviously, is winning. We know that. And they tried to last year. They had Harper and Bailey in basketball. It didn't work. They finished under 500. But I've talked about this for years, that Rutgers has been running, they ran massive deficits before they got in the Big Ten. So the plan is in the Big Ten, and this, let's exclude Penn State, USC, and UCLA. When all three got in, all of them got full shares right out of the gate. Nebraska, Maryland, and Rutgers had integrated shares over a 6-year period. Year one, and year two goes a little higher, then year three goes higher, and then finally at the end of year 6, you are now starting in year 7, fully integrated with the TV number you're going to get. Rutgers has never gotten there, because what they did was they borrowed against future earnings from the conference. Thus, they are not eligible to get a full share from the Big Ten until 27-28. Okay, now 27-28 at that point is your 15th year in the Big Ten. Okay? But this is what, year 12, 13, 14. So 14 years into the Big Ten, you're finally going to get a full share? I mean, they're not getting the $82 million. They have to deduct money that the Big Ten has to deduct money because you needed advances. Now, I think I see where she's going here, because there are certain elements that will come into play that will help them. So let's start what doesn't help them. Well, let's start with what helps them. What will help them is this. Essentially tripling the money from the college football playoff. About $7 million up to maybe $21 million. That's going to help. That's one. 2, this logo, sponsor logo, they talked about before, is going to help them offset the $20.5 million rev share, because that's not in this report. Okay, that's going to help offset the rev share. Now, what doesn't help them? What doesn't help them is this. Look at what Penn State's doing now with Beaver Stadium. They're putting in a $750 million, $700 to $750 million renovation. Penn State already has in Beaver Stadium luxury suites and already has club seats in Beaver Stadium. They are now putting in 2 more clubs. Was it the Manzano Club and the Shire Club? Shire?
I think
no,
so.
Shire. Okay. No, Schuyler Club.
Yeah, I knew it started with an S.
No, it's Schuyler Club. I apologize.
Yeah.
Matt, I apologize to you. Schuyler and Zano. Okay? Those 2 clubs are going in. Right? And not only that, the way the stadium's going to be done, there'll be conference rooms and things like that where they can do events and so forth at Beaver Stadium. They can get more use out of it. So how does that relate to Rutgers? Well, Rutgers has a stadium, and they don't have a single luxury box in the stadium. They don't have a single club seat in the stadium. They've done essentially nothing to the stadium. And they can sell out at 52,000 for a Penn State game or an Ohio State game or a Michigan game. But they get sellout numbers. They don't sit there. They don't have 50 to 70 luxury suites in there, and nor do they have the money to build them. Their basketball arena, 8,000, is sold out every game. Every game. But it's the same story there. They don't have any luxury suites in there. You go to the Breslin Center, they have luxury suites. You go to Pinnacle Bank Arena at Lincoln, they have luxury suites. The new places like that. Rutgers doesn't have that. They don't have extra ways of generating any other money other than the attendance numbers and so forth. And let's get to something I brought up earlier. Once they get to the new TV contract, it's going to be tiered. And believe me, when they were talking about private equity, and USC and Michigan balked about it with the California education, the pension fund, right? Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State were scheduled to get $190 each. I don't know why Michigan doesn't want the $190. I'm confused by that. USC and Oregon, I think Oregon's supposed to get $140 and USC $135. Everybody else gets between $100 and $110. Well, the $100, and Rutgers will get $100. You don't think that would help them? They desperately needed it. They desperately needed it. Because then when we do the TV contract at the end of this decade, it's going to be tiered. Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State will get 5.5% each. Oregon and USC are scheduled to get 5% each. Everybody else is getting 4.9%. Now, before you jump in and go, oh, what about Indiana? They won the national title. No. I've already gone through the TV numbers for you. Who had the highest average TV audience again in the Big Ten this year? Regular season. Ohio State. Who had the second highest average TV number per game this season? Michigan.
Yep.
Who had the third highest average TV number for the season? Penn State. Mm-hmm. Who had the fourth one? Oregon. Well, who are the 4 I just mentioned that are in the top 2 tiers? Indiana's not in there. Now, maybe next year they might be. We'll see. I don't know. But Penn State goes 7-6. Indiana wins the national title. Who has more viewers per game?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
By a wide margin, by the way.
Absolutely.
And that's, so I'm going to negotiate a TV contract. Just because you won the national title doesn't mean you vault up the ladder. Right? Because the TV people are going to say, hey, we need to get Penn State on. We need to get Michigan on. We need to get Ohio State on. We need to get Oregon on. Why? Because they're generating the viewership we want. Remember, Oregon played Indiana. Great game, right? Great game. and it was fourth, and it was the fourth or fifth highest rated game of the day. It didn't even win its time slot. And that was a great game with two teams having great seasons, undefeated. Just all the drama went, everything went. It didn't even win its time slot. See, that's why the tier. So, I mean, they'll get more money out of it. It's the saving grace of that TV deal, but they'll be in the 4.9% category. And believe me, they'll be happy they're getting the 4.9% because if they were in any other conference, they wouldn't be getting that much money. Because they're in the Big Ten, which has a television printing press. But this is okay. This shows you, because Rutgers, as jarring as this is, here's the issue, Jason. They're not alone.
No, they're not even close to being alone.
They're not alone in the deficits.
Sure.
Not every Power 4 school is alike. And they've just put out graphic evidence about where they fit in, even though they're in the Big Ten, where they're getting NCAA tournament money, they're getting college football playoff money, they're getting rev share money. I mean, we talk about when Penn State in football, Pat Kraft has to sign a check every year to the Big Ten on the rev share. You know that? Right? Rutgers doesn't have to. They're on the receiving end of it. And it's still not enough. And it's just, and they're an example. They're not the only one out there. But it is large as a deficit. It is jarring as a deficit, and it shows you how expensive college athletics is. I pointed out once, I'll point it out one more time. Even in a perfect storm, you lose money. And that was Iowa women's basketball.
Uh-huh.
Perfect storm. Great team. Got to the national championship game 2 years in a row. Sold out every game. They've got the star of stars in Caitlin Clark. Everybody wants to see her everywhere she goes. And when it came out, again, what were the two pieces of paper I looked at? And I found it. I found it. I went to Equity and Athletics, Department of Education. They have to file it. It's right there. They lost $3.6 million. It's hard to make money unless you're football and men's basketball because of the media deals. And that's for everybody. I always love when I hear, Penn State basketball only makes money because of the media deal. Excuse me, over here in the back, just so you understand, that's almost every school in the country that's able to make money because of the media deals. Yes, Duke makes more because of a lot of other things, but there's 365 of these
ACC
things.
makes less than football.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
How many football programs in the ACC are losing money?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's just, that's why I always love when I hear Penn State. It's only because of the media deal. What over here? I mean, I know you love your program, but do you want them to give the money back? Oh, you don't want them to give it back? Then don't shoot your mouth off about what a program makes or doesn't make. Don't shoot your mouth off about it. Unless you're willing to give the money back because you're pure of heart, right? Be thankful you're getting it.
Yeah.
It's probably helping to keep your program alive. Look at these guys.
Yep. Absolutely.
In the category of like life could be worse, go to Piscataway. And I give their athletic director credit. She didn't run from the story at all. She was very direct about it. I give her a lot of credit for that. All right, I give all of you credit. I want to thank Happy Valley Live and the Student Bookstore for the great sponsorship.
Heck yeah.
I mean, it's meant a lot. I mean, you can see Jason bought a new pullover because of it.
That's right.
Off.
My sweatshirt yesterday came from the student bookstore.
Oh, very nice.
That's it.
Oh, yeah, that was very stylish, I thought, by the way. All right. Off to Chicago. That's the next stop on the it's a tight week. So off to Chicago tonight, and then game tomorrow night. Then I'll fly back in. I got a 7:15 flight to get back here on Friday so I can spend more time with not just all of you, but with you.
That's right.
You.